4, 3.
Well, welcome today. My name is Luann Picard, and I am a professor and chair of the project management department here at UAA's College of Engineering. So delighted to have you all here today for today's professional development series from the College of Engineering, and really delighted to have my fellow PM faculty colleague here joining us today, Naseem Bashari, and she will be presenting on project management, navigating diverse project categories. But before we get started, I just want to do a brief intro of the topic that we're going to be covering today, as well as do a quick introduction of my esteemed colleague who's going to be presenting on this topic. So her presentation today is going to talk about the complex world of project management, in particular emphasizing the critical role of navigating diverse project categories for success. And there's a broad spectrum of projects, each with specific challenges and requirements, and project managers must develop a nuanced understanding of how to tailor their approaches. So this presentation will explore the distinct characteristics of various project categories, ranging from ordinary or development projects to various types of innovation projects, such as radical and disruptive innovations. This will hopefully provide insights into the complexities that shape project management practices. Recent developments in innovation project management have heightened the need for having a systems view for value delivery, and the innovation ecosystem concept depicts a system view of an evolving set of actors working on interrelated and interconnected activities to create deliverables or artifacts and deliver value. On the occasion of University of Alaska Anchorage's selection by the Department of Homeland Security to lead a consortium of U.S. academic institutions, industry, government, and local and indigenous community partners for the newly constituted Center of Excellence for ADEC, the understanding of project management practices for Arctic domain innovation is deemed as essential. So with that introduction to the topic, I'd also like you to be introduced to our speaker. So Dr. Naseem Bashari she's an assistant professor of project management at our University of Alaska Anchorage. She holds a PhD in management from Telecom Paris. She's a background in engineering and integrates technical knowledge with managerial acumen. Over the years, she has successfully taught numerous graduate and undergraduate students various project management and business courses. Her teaching philosophy revolves around bridging theory and practice, preparing students for the challenges of the professional world. Her multifaceted professional experience extends beyond academia. She has substantial experience as a project manager and management consultant. She has successfully managed several multinational projects in the automotive and transportation industries. She possesses the PMP professional certification, project management professional certification, and is a certified Scrum Master. Her research spans a spectrum of topics, including project management, business models, innovation ecosystems, and value creation. So with that introduction of our esteemed colleague, Dr. Naseem Bashari, we're delighted to have you here joining us from Eastern Canada. And thank you very much for sharing your wisdom with us today. So turning it over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Professor Picard, for your introduction. So it is really my honor to be here with you and have the opportunity to present part of my work in this session of the Professional Development Seminar Strategies at the College of Engineering in University of Alaska Anchorage. So today we are going to talk about project management and navigating diverse project categories. And as you know, project managers, they might confront, different kinds of projects in real world, and, when they are involved in different projects. So they need, to understand what kind of projects they are dealing with, and they need, to be able to mobilize the tools and techniques that might be, useful for them to use in different contexts of managing projects in different industries, and also different kinds of projects themselves. So we are going to talk about, the project management by starting, the definition of the project by the PMI Institute, and then projects, programs, portfolios within an organization. And what is the definition of the project management based on the PMI Institute definition. And then we are going to talk about, two main categories of projects. So development or ordinary or traditional projects, versus innovation projects. And innovation projects themselves, they have, different categories. So we are going to have a look on these different categories of innovation projects. And so managing development projects are different from innovation projects. So it is important to overview these differences as well. And as you know, so recently it is becoming, very important to having a kind of, system perspective when we want to manage projects. So it is very important to cultivate that system perspective among the project managers and to have that ability to think, about the systems and, how they can create value and, how can they deliver value within the system. So the innovation ecosystem concept will be looked at, and it is one of the concepts that will help us to understand a project through the its system level perspective. And managing projects so within innovation ecosystems, so they have their own characteristics, and it is something developing in the body of literature. So there are very recent and current contributions to the literature, so it is something new and interesting to work on. And on the other hand, so we have the opportunity at the University of Alaska, Anchorage, as being the leader of the consortium of the ADAC Arctic Center of Excellence. So it is a very important initiative that has started in 2014, and now recently a new round has started, so in January 2024. So it is something very important for Alaska and the innovation ecosystem in Alaska, different projects that can be conducted in the favor of the state, its people, communities, and also how the research and projects they can be deployed and developed in Alaska and to be used to advance the objectives of this Center of Excellence. So based on the PMI Institute, so the basic definition of the project, it is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. And this temporary nature of projects so indicates a beginning and an end to the project work or a phase of the project. And projects, they can stand alone or they can be a part of a program or portfolio. So as you see, there are some important notions in the definition of the project according to the PMI Institute. So as you see, we have the word temporary. So when we use the word temporary, we want to say that we identify a project as something that has a definite start and definite finish. So it is very important to have this in mind in order to be able to recognize what is a project, what is related to the operations within a company. So usually we see that people they confuse between the projects and also operations. So it is the one of the main words that we need to emphasize on, that the projects are temporary and they have a start and finish. So once the project finishes, so after that operations can start. So some problems might be related to operations and we need to approach them from the operations management view, and some aspects are related to the project management, and we need to understand what are the boundaries of project, and it really helps us to understand how to define the scope of the project, how to manage cost, how to schedule, and being able to work with different stakeholders within the scope of the project. So it is important to emphasize on this word that the projects are temporary and they have a start and finish date. And as so we might have different configurations in organizations. So small organizations, they might have few projects or just one project, and they work on one project at a time. But in bigger organizations, we might have, some kind of portfolios that those portfolios, they might consist of different programs and, different projects. Sometimes programs, they are divided or broken down to further, projects, and they are consist of different projects that constitute that program, and those programs together, they constitute that portfolio. Sometimes we might see also the operations, within the portfolio of an organization. So different configurations might be seen, and we need, to understand that as a whole, maybe we can see that portfolio, and underneath that we have programs, and under programs we have those projects. So usually portfolios, they have a kind of, strategic vision, and, they are in line with the strategic planning of that organization. So they usually seek to bring the organization to where, they are planning for in terms of, their strategies. And those strategies, they are translated, to different programs, and those programs, they are broken down to different projects, and each project, so they have kind of, deliverables and objectives to achieve. So what is the project management? Project management, as you know, project managers, they use, their knowledge, their skills, and they use the tools and techniques that they have at hand, or they have learned, throughout their work, and they want, to initiate the project, plan for that project, execute the project, and monitor, control the project, and finally they want to close the project and deliver it to the customer. So in a broad, definition of the project management, we see all these activities, all these processes to bring, that objective, or, to achieve that deliverable, and give it to the customer. So the project management, it refers to the guiding the work and deliver the intended outcomes and achieve the deliverables that have been defined. And we have different approaches for project management. So you might have heard about the predictive approaches, adaptive approaches, and hybrid approaches. So when we have different types of projects as well. So as I started the presentation, we might have, development projects, we might have innovation projects. Other name for development projects, so you might heard about ordinary projects or traditional projects. So in these kinds of projects, we exactly know what we are going, to deliver to our customers. So the technical aspects of the projects are well known, and the market is there, and the customer is ready to pay for what they want from that project. And it is easy, to understand what are the deliverables of the project, and then try to plan, to execute, monitor, and control, and at the end, deliver those deliverables to the customer. And it is easy. So from the beginning, while we know what kind of deliverables we are going to offer to our customers, so we can plan towards them. So these kinds of projects, usually project managers, they have easier time to manage them. And we see these kinds of projects in companies that, they repeatedly replicate the project. For example, in real estate development companies, they construct houses, for example, detached houses, and they do it again and again. So they might have some differences between, two houses, but, the processes and many items are the same, and they learn, from what they do, and they can gather those lessons learned, and they can include it in their organizational processes, and they can use it again and again. So in these kinds of companies that they are dealing with repeating projects, they can create a very good, base for their organizational processes assets. And after that, when new project managers, they come to these kinds of companies, so they can use these processes, tools, and, everything that have been developed before them. So it will be easier for new project managers to undertake these kinds of projects. And so project management processes such as, initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling and closing, they can be easily applied. So the, obvious example, it is about the real estate development companies that they construct, houses. And for example, you can think of other manufacturing companies once they want, to construct a new manufacturing company that will produce the same products in another, geographical location. On the other hand, when we talk about innovation projects, so there isn't really, just one definition for an innovation project, but maybe we can think of a variety of projects, from new products, services, or processes, or improving, existing products, services, or processes, and maybe creating new business models. And so in these kinds of innovation projects, sometimes we might not know, what would be the requirements of the product or service, and the market is usually unknown. We don't know who will the customer and who are the customers or users who are willing, to pay to buy, our innovation. So usually innovation projects, they deal with greater uncertainty and risk, and it is usually difficult to understand what is the market about and who are the initial customers who might buy the products and services. Therefore, we cannot easily use the project management processes that are outlined, in the PMBOK, such as, initiating, planning, executing, these kinds of things. We cannot apply them easily, and we might not be able to use these tools and techniques easily. So sometimes in innovation projects, we might need, to be creative and try to create the management decision-making tools ourselves. So we cannot rely on what exists within the company as the organizational processes, as I said. And sometimes, project managers, they need to come up with new solutions, and they need to be creative in order to create new tools and techniques that are adapted to the context of their project, which is something, innovative. We have different categories of innovation projects. So if we divide them in 3 different categories, so incremental innovation, radical innovation, and disruptive innovation. So in incremental innovation, it involves, a small and often continuous improvements to existing products or services. Therefore, the market will be the same. So in incremental innovation, the existing market will be addressed. So we know about the end customer and, their needs, and it is easier, try to develop products and services for them. And sometimes these kinds of incremental innovation projects, they might involve, direct technical aspects to that product or service, or sometimes, some indirect or maybe non-technical to that product or service, and something that might be related to their production line, or, to improving, the sustainability aspects of that production line, or reducing waste. And as a conclusion for incremental innovation, so usually they have the same business model as before. So an example of incremental innovation, you can think of, for example, a diesel car engine. So if a company manufactures these engines, so they might want, to improve them in terms of lowering the greenhouse gas emissions, in terms of increasing the combustion, ratios, and making the engine, stronger, and these kinds of things. So we are dealing with the same product, but we are doing something on that product to make it better and better. So it is about the incremental innovation. That diesel engine will be used in cars, and cars are sold to customers, so we know exactly what is the business model. We know who is producing that product, who is going to use it, so the business model isn't changing. On the contrary, in disruptive innovation, we might need to change the business model. And sometimes radical innovation and disruptive innovation, they are used interchangeably, but they have a slight difference. So in radical innovation, we are creating something new in terms of product and service, and we want to identify gaps or shortcomings in the current market and create something new that fills the gap and provides more value comparing the status quo. And usually these radical innovation, they need, research, ideation, exploration, experimentation, and they have many risks, in their lifetime. And usually in radical innovation, the business model, it is the same, but the existing products or services are going to be obsolete because of the new product or service. So here you can think of the electric engines used in cars. So as you see, the business model, it is the same. So the car manufacturing companies, they are going to buy electric engines, and business models in terms of who is creating that value and who is paying for that value, it is pretty the same, but something innovative is being introduced to the market. And so as you see, those companies who were involved in diesel engine manufacturing, so they might lose their market because a new product or service is coming to the market. On the other hand, we have the disruptive innovation. So in disruptive innovation as well, we are creating new products and services, but we are renewing the business model as well. So usually in disruptive innovation, it challenges the existing product or service and makes it, obsolete, and captures its market or create new markets for itself. So sometimes it isn't just about the existing market, but also a new market is being created. And usually disruptive innovation needs, research, ideation, exploration, experimentation, and it needs an innovative, business model as well. So you can think of the example of, autonomous or connected vehicles as disruptive innovation. So they might, change the business model as a whole as well. So with those characteristics about the innovation projects and also ordinary or development projects, we know that it isn't easy to use the same approaches for managing projects related to development projects and innovation projects. So usually for managing ordinary or traditional or development projects, predictive approach or waterfall methodology is good to use. And we can use appropriate project management tools and techniques, and we can use all the things that we have learned through PMBOK, for example, are the processes and the knowledge areas, so they can easily used in these kinds of projects. And the project manager usually follows the initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling, and closing. So we know exactly what would be the life cycle of the project. The good thing about traditional projects or development projects is that if it is a kind of established organization. So over time, that organization has then developed, many processes and tools, and they are all stored in as organizational processes asset, and project managers, they can easily use these assets in managing their projects. So it is a kind of way to create money for the company. It is important, in today's business, we need to have viable and profitable businesses. So we need to have development projects or ordinary projects, but also we need to work on innovation projects as well. Because if we stick to development or ordinary projects and we don't pay attention what is going on around us, and in environmental factors, or what is going on in terms of politics, energy politics, these kinds of things. So we cannot be able to react to those changes in our environment. So it is important, to have a kind of, portfolio of projects in companies, combining, development projects and also innovation projects. Therefore, in innovation projects, we need to have a kind of, hybrid or adaptive approach, and usually maybe using agile methodology will be easier to manage innovation projects. And project managers need to be, flexible and creative in terms of, using tools and techniques. And as I mentioned before, so sometimes project managers, they need to create tools to manage innovation projects, and based on the context that they are working in. So it is important, to have that kind of creativity mindset among, project managers to be able to manage these kinds of innovation projects. And usually we need a high level of customization of, processes, or maybe defining new processes adapted to innovation. And as we saw, maybe we don't have the same life cycle as the development or ordinary projects. So it isn't just, initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and closing. Maybe we have different kinds of, life cycles for innovation projects. And we need to understand, in what stage we are in, and, be able to manage that stage efficiently. Another approach, which is very important, and we need to, cultivate it among the project managers. It is about, having and developing a system perspective for delivering value. So we explained innovation projects, incremental innovation, radical innovation, disruptive innovation. So we can, think about these kinds of innovations happening within one organization. But it isn't always, good, to think that each organization, they are capable to work on the whole project themselves. And usually organizations, they need to cooperate and collaborate with each other. Therefore, having a system perspective for delivering value, it is very important. And in, today, innovation projects, they aren't solely undertaken, within just one company or organization. And most companies or organizations, they aren't able to undertake the whole, innovation project by themselves, because they don't have, enough resources at hand. So every company, they are specialized in, one or a few domains, and they have developed resources for that domain. And for example, the human resources, they aren't experts in all the domains. And also in terms of finances, usually they don't have, very free cash flow, to use for these kinds of innovation. And, they need that money to make their business, thriving in the market. So they don't have enough money to spend on innovation and working on these kinds of things. So they might not have, laboratories, these kinds of things to experiment their innovation. So they need to work with other companies, with other organizations, with universities, with governments. So it is very important to have that system perspective. And in this regard, so innovation ecosystems, it is one of the newest concepts that helps to have a kind of system view for managing innovation projects. And what is good about innovation ecosystems, it is that innovation ecosystems, they are defined as evolving, set of actors, including government organizations, research institutes, universities, public or private companies, the community, and even, prospective innovation users, regulators. So, and all these actors, they can work on interrelated or interconnected activities to create deliverables and artifacts and finally deliver value. So I would say that in innovation ecosystems, all the actors, they are creating value together and they are capturing value as well. So it isn't just about, thinking about capturing value at the end. So we don't think about a finish or end for an innovation ecosystem. So usually, even from those beginning steps, all the actors, they are capturing some kind of value and they are contributing value. So we need to have this mindset that in a system thinking, we need to think about contributing value and also capturing value in different stages. But we need to maybe have a kind of modification in our definition of value. So, for example, if we have that, traditional mindset about the value of a project as a kind of, ultimate deliverable of a project. So we might think, okay, we are going to undertake this project for achieving, the ultimate value, which is, for example, a kind of product. But in innovation ecosystem, different actors, they collaborate together, and sometimes they create some kind of intangible values as well. So those intangible values are they are important, and it is difficult, to monetize those kind of intangible values, but they are important, and they are working as a kind of glue in the innovation ecosystem. So as you see here, if we think about the innovation ecosystem, so it has a kind of business model. We have the demand system and also offer system. So offer system, it involves all the actors, they are collaborating and cooperating together in order to create a certain type of value, and they can be different actors. For example, some actors might innovate, some other actors might produce, and some other actors might offer values. On the other hand, in the demand system, we need to think about three different categories. So who needs that innovation, who uses, and who pays for it? So as you see, these three categories, they are different. And sometimes the actor who needs the value from that innovation ecosystem, it wouldn't be the actor who will use it. And for example, maybe we might see sometimes in the public goods that the government they need it, but they aren't using this. So people, they are using those products or services. So we need to distinguish between different categories of users in the demand system and also different categories of actors in the offer system. And so there's always kind of a dynamic between these actors, and they are influencing each other, and intangible value and also tangible values are created and captured. So different actors who come on board and work together, so they can create a kind of brand name. They can create an installed base of products which will be used as a kind of reference for them for future, they can develop their manufacturing capabilities, marketing, distribution channels, reputation. They can create, relationships, complementary technologies, and all these are very important. So once they finish, this stage, they need, to prepare for next. So it doesn't finish here. So it is a little bit different from the definition that we started the presentation, that projects are temporary and they have a start and finish. But for innovation ecosystems, we cannot imagine a very rigid finish for them. So maybe we have different stages, and we finish, a stage in their life cycle, and then we need to prepare for the future, a stage. And so a future stage, might be expansion by strategizing. For example, if we can do that project again and again, so we are having a kind of economy of scope, or if we can produce the products again and again, so we can have a kind of economy of scale. We can create some strategic alliances. We might think of improving the quality, reduce our costs, and working on new customer segmentation, or maybe on what we have learned, from this stage. So we might think of, new cycle of entrepreneurship, and, we might think of, new products or new markets that we can address or we can work on. So for managing projects within innovation ecosystems, we might have the different phases. So as ideation, shaping, experimentation, and preparation. In terms of characteristics of the ideation phase, so usually it starts with the collaboration between different actors, and usually there isn't a very solid understanding of the project and its results and its deliverables. Therefore, we don't have an explicit, demand or identified market. All these are adding to the uncertainty of innovation projects within innovation ecosystems. And usually, actors, they want to try to formulate a kind of, primary strategy, and they try to prove the legitimacy of the project. So usually, we see that innovation ecosystems, they are backed by government institutions at the beginning, and it adds to their legitimacy, and it helps them to start their work. And another aspect which is important, so it is the aspect related to the protecting the idea. So we see that intellectual property aspects, trademarks, copyrights, these things that might be used as strategies to protect the ideas. And then the shaping phase. So in shaping phase, usually in innovation ecosystems, they struggle with not having a definitive objective or measurements for their value proposition and the result of the project. And usually values and contributions to the values and value capture, so they are a little bit vague, and it isn't easy to trace who are the beneficiaries of the values. And actors, they try to shape an emerging ecosystem and integrate their resources and capabilities for creating and defining a value proposition for initial customers. So here we usually see that one kind of initial customer is addressed, and they try to mobilize their resources and their projects in terms of creating a preliminary value proposition for that initial customer. And the challenges, so would be creating and developing values, and expected value in the start of the project is usually different from the value obtained at the end. So we might see that actors, they are working towards a set of values, but in the course of the projects they see that they need, to tailor or customize those value propositions. And so experimentation, they need, to think about experimentation and find, somewhere to experiment their innovation, because they need to establish a kind of, proof of concept, viable and exciting alternative to what is, already available in the market. So if they find that, initial customer, so they can start the experimentation phase. And in this phase, so usually knowledge is created through experimentation and learning, and then they can create a kind of, primary version of the offer of their value proposition. However, they might not have a definitive business model in this stage. And in terms of their challenges, there might be, uncertainty due to exploration and development of new knowledge. Actors, they might be reluctant or hesitant for investment, and they need, learn what value proposition works and learning how to provide it to, further developments. And they need to tune the business model in terms of the offer and demand system and the value structures. This is where the actors, they need to work together in order to finalize the kind of offer system and also address the demand system. The next phase would be the preparation. So the goal of an innovation ecosystem is not just launching a new service or introducing a new product. So it doesn't finish here. So what we have learned in these kinds of, innovation projects within this innovation ecosystem, we need to develop new ideas for creating new deliverables, new applications from what we have learned in that innovation ecosystem. And we need to expand maybe this innovation project to a development project, because development project or ordinary project, they are cash making, for organizations. They are important. So if we want, to have a kind of thriving or profitable business, so we need to be able, to turn those innovation projects to money-making projects as well. So in this regard, I would recall about the ADAC Arctic Center of Excellence. So recently, a new stage for ADAC Arctic Center of Excellence has started in 2024. So it is a very good opportunity for University of Alaska Anchorage to lead this consortium, because it contains, many important actors who are really interested in this, innovation ecosystem, and they have defined many programs and projects, and they have concluded several successful projects, and there are knowledge and lesson learned during the past phase. So it is very important and valuable now that they can continue on these endeavors and making new things and new value propositions and advance in their research. And so, as you know, they have different access to work on, such as, situational awareness, improving understanding of risk and potential impacts, resilience or collaboration and cooperation across the Homeland Security enterprise. So these are important access, and they are in continuation what have been done, so far since 2014. And I would conclude my presentation that we need, to be able to use different project management processes and tools, in different projects. So we need to know that there are different things that we might have at hand, and there are different things that we need to create as project managers ourselves. So we need to be creative and innovative as well. And there are very good opportunities in Alaska to lead, innovation in the state, and there are many important topics that they can be addressed as innovation projects within the innovation ecosystem of ADAC and Arctic. There are very, good opportunities for scaling up, successful projects and strategizing for new projects. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Bahari, for that enlightening presentation. I had along his career at Hewlett Packard, and I did a lot of the things that she's describing, starting out as an engineer and then running one of our large enterprises. So it's really nice to be able to take some of this information and put it in realistic context, because as she mentioned, we have a real opportunity with ADAC. We've had 7 years where we started doing this kind of research on solutions that we can deliver specifically for the Arctic that start with core R&D and then potentially lead to solutions that can be delivered to the marketplace. And so for Arctic specific types of innovations, I think we have a really interesting opportunity here to do that. So first, I'd like to open us up to Q&A for anybody that has questions in the room. And I'm looking also monitoring the chat for those of you that are joined online, and I can answer any questions that might come from there. So starting with anyone in the room, any questions from this group? Yes.
I just retired last year from the U.S. Coast Guard after almost 21 years.
Yeah.
And I retired out of Kodiak.
Mhm.
One of the biggest challenges up here is the U.S. Coast Guard is and always will be a money-losing machine. We're there to support. We provide a key service that's incredibly hard to monetize. It's almost impossible to pay $1 million per hour to go get 4 lives when you look at it that way. But we see that as a goodness. What specifically are they asking? Are they asking for more logistic points? I know that we're trying to put a couple ships up in Nome, but the logistics of getting building materials up there, plus a short building season, plus just depth of water, makes it really difficult. You have to design the ships around that area. They have to be able to perform out there in big seas. It's not quite lining up as what we saw.
Dr. Bahari, did you want to try to answer that in the context of your presentation? And then I can also add to it based on my knowledge of what ADAC is doing.
Yes, please start, and then I will add to yours.
Okay, great. So I was part of the very beginning of ADAC when it was initiated, and the primary customer of all of the innovation work that's coming out of ADAC actually is the Coast Guard. So thank you for your service to the Coast Guard. And yeah, it's a really interesting challenge, because if you look at all of this, the vast area that we need to be able to take a look at and be able to respond and have situational awareness in particular for the Coast Guard is complex and very logistically challenging. And so the mission of ADAC initially the idea was to call it instrument everything from the seafloor to the stratosphere. So you can imagine all that column of data that you might be able to look at, aggregate, and then be able to report back through systems that would allow the Coast Guard to respond really effectively. And oftentimes what that can do is integrate data about ice and weather and all kinds of other things that can tell you whether or not maybe there's a high likelihood that something might be happening, but it hasn't happened yet. But it's probably, like you said, it could be in the best interest of the response to vector resources in that direction in the anticipation that something might happen. And so a lot of the innovation, that was sort of the vision, was to be able to instrument that column, be able to provide integrated data that would allow the Coast Guard to respond more effectively. So to your question, though, in particular, it's, and I think it really applies to what Naseem is talking about, is that when you think about an innovation ecosystem, which is really what we're talking about when we're in the Arctic, because it's never one thing, it's dozens and dozens of things that have to come together in order to be able to produce that kind of value over vast distances, extreme weather, technology, logistics, you name it. It's like, it's almost impossible sometimes to comprehend. And so So to your point, whether the innovation ecosystem in the Arctic has to be looked at differently than the innovation ecosystem in Louisiana. And what that means in terms of shipping, ship types, what that means in terms of the type of port facilities that you need to have, the implication of the type of ice. I mean, there are, as you well know, there are how many different hundreds of different kinds of ice, and being able to understand what that is and how it's changing, the changes in weather patterns that we're seeing in the Arctic, all of that stuff needs to be put together. And so I really like her presentation, and as it relates to ADAC, is maybe part of what we can do here is to take a little bit of a step back and understand it as an ecosystem, because it isn't just one thing. And sometimes there's innovation that happens at the individual component level, but you also have to think about innovation at the larger ecosystem and all of the different parts that have to come together in order for that kind of response to be successful. So I hope that gives maybe some answer to your question, but I would invite Nasim to continue, or maybe if you have more specifics about that particular question that you have, she could answer that as well.
Specifically, one of the hardest things that I've been in since we had blackouts. We couldn't even email our families at certain times because of MCON. Now the biggest thing that we're running up to is we have a robust communications package at any time. You can call your family or call in something that you need. You throw it on a C-130 and they go in to drop it. If it needs to be bigger, the Air Force generally contracts, gets to someplace, we get into a deep water port. Usually that's going to be out on Alaska, Dutch Harbor, to get it. The issue that we're facing now is not enough assets, and that's why we're trying to spread it out. Kodiak is one of the largest bases for the U.S. Coast Guard in the entire U.S. We were talking about Nome because with Kodiak, you have to run out the Aleutians and then up. 225-foot ship has about 2 feet of water under it going through False Pass. Then it has to come back up. You're talking at 18 knots, 6.5 days. And that's running full out. You're below 50%. You don't handle seas well anymore, and you have to balance. It's from a very human perspective, it's actually distances and communication. Let's say somebody laying pots up above Dutch Harbor there. That's why we do Veteran Bay so everybody can get through there. You have a mountain range in between there. It was communications we were seeing in response time.
Yes, so I would say that so you have a kind of lived problem. So you are living that problem in a day-to-day life or business. It is a kind of a starting point for innovation projects, and so it shows that you as at least as the users, maybe you won't be who are going to pay for that kind of innovation, or but we have some actors who are in need of a kind of certain type of innovation, and they will use it. So these kinds of projects that arise from the community, either business community or people community, civil community, so they are all important, and because they are happening in the context of Alaska and its specific characteristics. So they might be good efforts for these kinds of projects to be worked on and try to address the problems that businesses and people they are living in their day-to-day lives.
One other thing I wanted to add to that is that one of the mottos of our College of Engineering is that rooted in Alaska but relevant to the world. And the idea behind that is that oftentimes some of the innovations that we need to have in order to solve wicked problems, like the one that you're describing, we solve that here, but it's actually relevant to other people from around the world who might be similarly situated. So the innovations that we can drive through a center like ADAC to, it's a huge problem what you're talking about. There are no easy solutions to any of the things that you're describing. There was, we would have already done it. We would have done it, right? And so that's what's so exciting, I think, about innovation life cycle is you take this massive problem and you say, okay, what are all of the things that have to happen in order for that to be addressed? And then you look at it in an ecosystem, as Naseem was talking about, and you understand where all of the different players or actors need to be, and the web or the network that has to be in place in order for that to work effectively. And then innovation lives not just in being able to define that ecosystem, but in all the interrelated parts and what you have to do first in order to start building that out. So that's what's cool about something like ADAC, where we're starting to pick together, for the Coast Guard in particular, what are all of those little bits and pieces that have to be networked together in that ecosystem in order to address those kinds of problems. And I don't think a lot of people in the world really understand, I mean, you understand it very well in this context of this question, but it's impressive, the complexity and the challenge of it. And it's sort of exciting, I think, for us to be at the center of looking at it more systematically, innovating in this area, and then building all those building blocks that might eventually help to have a much more effective response under the circumstances that you described. Yeah. Other questions from you guys in the room? No? All right, well, I think our time is up here. I want to thank everyone for being here today. For those of you that are online or here in the room, the code for the PDUs is diverse, all lowercase letters, DIVERSE. And we thank you very much for taking the time to come out and learn together on this really important and interesting topic. I don't think a lot of the topics that we present in the College of Engineering are about sometimes things that are a bit more maybe current or projects that are happening, and this is one where, you know, maybe we have a chance to lead the world when it comes to innovations in this area. And if we have this kind of innovation mindset and understand how to help people to explore and discover in a very complex environment, we have an opportunity to lead. And thank you for raising that really great question. Okay, thanks everybody, and thanks Naseem.
Thank you so much. Thank you.